Through education, research, scholarships, networking, and more, the institutes are unique in how they help and support insurance professionals, both today and into the future.
Thought Leader Theater is brought to you by the Institutes.
Habits of highly effective risk professionals. Okay. This presentation is modeled after Stephen Covey's successful book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in the end, the leadership principles and the concepts that are talked about in that book are fully transferable to what we do in our jobs every day as risk management professionals. In the end, our success is really dependent upon how we manage ourselves, our priorities, and ultimately the relationships of the people around us. The great news, though, is this stuff isn't rocket science. For those of us that have been in the industry a long time, you know, it's not that difficult if we have a set of principles and exhibit a lot of leadership. So anyway, Covey's book is an excellent primer, a model from which for us to base our daily activities. And don't forget to personalize the concepts in the book. Okay, Steve and I have collectively 66 years in the industry. It's a lot of renewal cycles. And rather than go through our biographies in detail, both of us come from primarily the real estate industry, real estate and construction. We also have experience in everything ranging from finance to politics to heavy manufacturing, also power generation. Stephen Covey, the book itself, wildly successful, written in 1989, 25 million copies of the book distributed globally. With a show of hands, who's actually read the book? See, right. Probably about half, I think, half of the book. You know, whether you've read the book or haven't read the book, what we hope you'll take away from our presentation today is that Covey's timeless principles based on ethics and character really do apply to what we do every day. So a quick review of his 7 principles, and we'll get into a slide on each and give you some kind of real-world examples on how they apply to our discipline. First and foremost, principle number 1, be proactive. Number 2, we must begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Number 4, think win-win. Number 5, seek first to understand and then be understood. Number 6, synergize with the people around you. And finally, number 7, sharpen the saw.
And I want to add, Stephen Covey's book, done a lot of management courses, read a lot of books, and a lot of times you come out pumped up and ready to go, and it falls off the table. What Covey's provided is a sustainable model to management, and not just management, your personal life. And it's something that, even though I fall off the table from time to time, I can come back to it, and it works.
Perfect. Number 1, be proactive. Okay, we must own the discipline, the risk management discipline within our companies. Okay, you know, we have to be able to anticipate needs. We have to know our company's business and find proactive solutions. And as we're fond of saying, we're from corporate, and we're here to help. Right? You know, go out in the field, and you know, living in the corporate office, you get out to the field, and sometimes people look at you with a jaded eye. But it's really important to get out there and press the flesh. Risk management does not thrive in a vacuum. You've got to get out and get to know your people, get to understand your business, ask questions, to be able to put your discipline in the best perspective to deliver solutions that bring value to the enterprise. Okay? Also, I'm fond of saying is be the ambassador of risk. Okay? Own your discipline. And oftentimes it's not hard because in our organizations, there's really only one of us, right? Okay? People look to you as the risk buster in residence. Okay? So you have to act like one. And you do that by getting out and meeting people and letting them know who you are and show them what you do and how you can help.
And we're gonna talk about this over the course of this presentation on how do you communicate and integrate with management? How do you become effective and are looked at a higher level than just a doer? And one of the things that we learned is always look to the horizon. You're caught up in blocking and tackling a lot of the days, but it's important to be looking to the horizon. And one of the things that I always found successful is that when we had a management meeting, we met with senior management, that basically we gave them the programmatic numbers and the metrics, but we were always looking at 3 or 4 strategic issues. And we get our document out for that meeting 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and we say, here's the issue, here's the background, and here are our recommendations or suggestions for action. And we'd spend 2 hours on 3 pages, because that's where they are, and that's where we needed to be. And the programmatic information on the loss, what our goals were, whether we were self-insured or not, what the numbers and the experience and the things that were going on there, that was their job to read, and if they had questions, we would answer those questions. But we tried to focus where they really wanted to be, on the strategic issues that we should be looking at as part of the management team. And I guess the last thing on there is, did you time out? What did you do, Tim? Is always to be a problem solver. You know, I remember I was president of our local RIMS chapter back in the 70s. And I had George Head, who had developed the risk management program, the ARM program, and he talked about the Renaissance risk manager. And that's sort of what ERM is today. It's saying not just dealing with pure the risk of loss, and if you remember your RM courses, but the dynamic or speculative risk, where there's risk of gain and loss, because we as risk managers want to be at the table. And you can only be at the table if you're thought at a level where you're bringing information that is forward thinking, and where you're not getting in the way of the deal, but you're adding value to the deal. Begin with the end in mind. This is habit number 2. Really important, and our job is still to move the needle. And determining what that needle is and where it's going is part of our challenge, but I'll say results matter, not activities. Often risk managers, when you get in front of a management, we want to tell them what we're doing because we don't think they know. They don't care. Okay? What they care about is understanding the results that align with their goals. And those goals are going to be, are we helping to reduce costs, increase cash flow, protect the balance sheet, or provide information that allows them to make more informed business decisions? The session before us was on cyber. That's a perfect example of where we should be involved in the process of helping make good decisions. Whether they insure or not, cyber is a balance sheet issue as much as anything else. Low frequency, high severity. So what we came to understand is I'm also believe I'm an analytics guy, I'm a numbers guy. If you can't measure it, I don't do it. So I wanted to always be measured, and I look to being measured by management. And sometimes we want to avoid that. It's the safest place to be when you report to a CFO, is you want to be managed. You want to have those goals and objectives, because then they ask, well, how do we get there? And they empower you to do it. And we would share that information with operations. Operations is risk management, not the finance side, but the driving of cost side. And establish, they would say, oh, I get it. Here's what we need to do. I said, that's cool. We have a standard now. What they didn't like is we now have a person accountable and a measure and a metric. And anything you measure with good information, you will drive cost. It's how everything is done in your company. And when you get management to buy into it, home run.
Okay, habit number 3, put first things first. I think it really starts with knowing your role. Okay, really understanding and embracing the role. You are the risk buster. Okay, and I try to break what I do as my client's risk manager down into 2 very simple categories. First is process. Okay, I want a consistent way in which I approach each problem, with the flexibility, of course, to adapt to that. But if I start from a consistent basis, we have an expectation of how we communicate, how we solve problems, and how we work together to get that done. And I found it very effective to sit down with senior management before problems happen and work through how things should work. Gain a solid understanding of what my limits of authority are. And I literally put that down in my Bible. I have a policies and procedure manual that was approved by senior management, and it gives me free rein to make decisions within certain levels of authority, to spend money within certain levels of authority, and make decisions on their behalf. And if there's any questions from the field, then I've got, a solid policy statement to back up. Okay? Also, problems, fixing problems. We do that every day, right? And problems are an opportunity to excel. And never shirk from a problem, because it's how you really earn your money. Because problems happen. Let's just face it, stuff happens every day. And it's within your ability to solve those problems to the organization's satisfaction, you really build your brand. Okay? That big claim that happens, that lasts for months and months on end while you work through the logistics of an adjustment, is your opportunity to get in front of senior management and show what you do for a living and build a brand and negotiate and work through to a solid result. How else are you going to build your brand? That's what we get paid the big bucks for. Okay, so process and problems. Okay, win-win. Okay, before we can create a winning solution, we have to understand what our company's goals are, both short-term, long-term. We have to understand also what our constraints are, you know, organizationally, within our department, and within our operations groups. And finally, we have to understand and appreciate the core values of our company. And armed with all of that, okay, now you can march forward as your risk buster in residence and accept your mission. We're a service arm. You know, I'm really fond of telling the people in the field that I'm here to serve you. You're not here to serve me. A lot of times people will come and think that I have all this authority, and I really don't. I'm really there to help them get their job done, okay? And I've always viewed my role as a risk manager to focus on two things. First is protect the investors. In all the decisions I make, I have the investors in my company at mind. And second is to get the job done, because we're here to make money. So putting the two of those together will usually result in an excellent outcome.
And I know Tim he talks about walk around risk management, meeting the people. It's important to connect with the leaders at all levels and to align with their objectives. I was with a publicly traded company for 31 years until they were sold. And I can tell you, I probably had buyers or managers or leaders or people I reported to change 15 times over those 30 years. So you constantly have to be repositioning and reselling your value proposition, and it's personal relationships. One of the things Covey talks about is doing the important things versus the urgent things. I remember a consultant once said to me, "Do you eat lunch?" I said, "No, I'm always working." He said, "You need to eat lunch, but you need to eat lunch with the right people and to build those relationships." So you need to think about strategically what you're doing, and if you have 5 minutes to go on a particular thing, is thinking about what are the most important things you should be doing then. And speak their language, and we've talked about this, but talk their metrics, their language. Every one of us should know how our company measures expenses and revenues, and we constantly should be talking in that way, and communicating and giving them information in the way they make decisions. And it's okay to ask them. Most of the time it's visual, but you want to ask them, how do you want to see information so you can make decisions? I tell them now in my position at Willis, our clients are pretty smart. You know, they may not know everything we know, and I'm talking about non-risk managers now. They might not, but they're smart people, and they know what's going on and know how to make decisions. Our job is to understand how to give them information so that they can make decisions and communicate in those ways. And I used to always ask, when I was finished a meeting with senior management, do we need to change anything? Are we giving you the right information? And I remember once a good friend of mine, the controller, said, "Steve," it was early on, he said, "if it's just a report, why do we have to meet?" That's why you need to be at a strategic level with them, giving them information so they can make the decisions. And one other thing, after every meeting you have, wherever it is within the organization, and this is good business practice, get in the habit of, after that meeting, a short one-page, used to be a note, now it's an email. It's not a minute to the meeting. It's saying, here's what we met to discuss. These are the main things that we met to discuss, our objectives. Here's what I'm going to do by when, and here's what you're going to do by when. If I've misunderstood anything or have any misstatements, please contact me immediately. We ended up getting invited to more and more business meetings because meetings had a beginning and end and results by doing that. It will raise your level within your organization if you get in that habit, and it's the right way to do business. Habit number 5, I think one of the most important. Seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. And I always say, and I've done a lot of negotiations, you give up control to get control. And I'm a type A, that's hard to do. But if you've worked at it enough and you've worked at changing yourself, you understand the value and the success of giving up control and then listening. And I have this term NETSO. I learned this. I served on a board at a community college, and one of the other board members, who was from a president of a publicly traded company, said, Steve, when I go into a meeting, I always write NETSO at the top of my sheet. That's listen spelled backwards. And the reason you did, if you wrote listen up there, I would insult him, because he reads upside down, as a lot of people do in meetings. So we put NETSO, and we listen to them first. And what I have found, and you have to work at it, and I mean listen, not thinking of your answer, not processing, but absolutely suspending everything and thinking. I'm very smart when I do that. I am. I'm very smart when I do that. We all have enough intelligence if we just allow and then pause. Never step on someone, and that even means if you're in a team meeting, never step on someone. You're telling them, and you should be reflecting, thinking before you answer.
Habit number 6, synergize. Okay? In the end of the day, all business is people business. And our success as a risk manager or at doing anything else in life is really dependent upon how we manage people. And in the risk management discipline within our companies, we are expected to be leaders. We're expected to be leaders, and we have to act like one. We're not expected to know everything. Okay? In fact, I would say, if we said we knew everything, there'd be something really wrong with that equation. We're not expected to. Okay? But we are expected to be able to find answers, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we have a staff. That's why we have a broker team. That's why we have carrier teams. We have a variety of different consultants we all work for. They have the subject matter expertise. It's our job to bring it out of them. Okay? We have to coordinate those resources to meet our company's needs. Okay? And I would say that it's really your job to network within those resources to gain an understanding, to ask questions, to be able to really find out who knows what for that one day when you need that answer. Okay? Even here at this organization, at this conference. I mean, last night I was having a cocktail with somebody at a party, and he brought up an issue with cyber that I had just finished a cyber review I hadn't even thought of. And now I've got to kind of go back and really reanalyze, the comments that were pulled up last night. And of course, I got his business card. He's going to, help me out with that. It'll make me look like a genius. Okay, I didn't know that, but yet I had, the foresight to ask some questions and find out that, yeah, I did know everything. So anyway, at the end of the day, too, you need to be passionate. Okay, I think you see that with me. You have to lead from the front and make it fun. Don't be afraid to reflect your personality and have the people around you enjoy working with you.
This is in many ways my other than seek to understand before you seek to be understood, my favorite habit, sharpen the saw. And that's taking care of yourself. And it's also investing in yourself. And we do a symposium for real estate clients, and we do all these blocking and tackling and important sessions, but we always try to put in one session that makes people think. And often the risk managers say, I don't want that. I just want to block and tackle. And I'm saying you need to do more. You need to understand whatever business your company's in, you need to understand that business and understand the issues, the macro and micro issues that the CFO, the CEO, the general counsel are thinking about. You need to take an hour and read every day and read about your trade, not just risk management, but your company's business and the economics. You need to understand so when you're in a conversation with senior management, you understand where they're heading and can reflect on it and can participate in that discussion. It will get you to a higher place. So continue that. RIMS is a great place. I co-founded the real estate session back a long time ago. And you create networks of people, like Tim was saying, that you can call, not just your broker, but other people within the industry. You should be looking for those people and stealing. RIMS is a great adventure in stealing and building a better mousetrap for yourself. And reading, obviously Stephen Covey, Good to Great, great book on research-based great companies. And looking at those things, I remember writing an article on Move the Cheese. Your management and people that you work with are reading those books, and it'll make you better. And it's about a journey. And what Covey talks about, and I do this, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, workout. It's my first victory of the day. As tired as I am, walking over and spending about an hour working out, watching Good Morning Joe, I leave that and feel I'm in charge. And the last thing every day should be spending, maybe it's 15 minutes, but reading. But both of those things, doing something for yourself so you're bringing more to your job, because if it's just a job, do something else. It's got to begin. And you talk about passion. I always say when I'm in front of a client or in front of management, they'll know I like what I do. And if you like what you do and you bring energy and passion to what you do and you're continuously investing in yourself, you're going to do well. So we're right. Wow, we're right at 5 minutes.
Well, follow up though.
Okay.
I just want to make one point on the networking and the reading. You know, creativity is simply concealing your source, right? Okay, don't be afraid, but give credit where credit is due. And the final point is push people up. Okay, I'm very big into team building because you can't do this yourself. And as a team leader, you're responsible for the results. Everybody knows that. Okay, when your team fails, you take the responsibility. When your team does great, you push the credit to the people, right? That's what we do. Because if you take care of your people, they'll take care of you.
That's absolutely important. And at the end of the day, you're really creating a risk management culture throughout your company so that everyone is thinking risk management as part of a business process. So we'll throw it open to a couple minutes of questions and answers if you have some.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I'm going to have Tim talk to you for a couple minutes about his life history.
We're in New Orleans. Let's go to happy hour. I mean, right? Have fun.
Okay,
right.
thank you all for
people.
your attendance.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.